So, in this video, I'm going to go to a PowerPoint and talk about the idea of roles. Now, some of this can apply to single player and definitely multiplayer. Focus is more on multiplayer, but it might make the investigation go smoother if everybody has an assigned role instead of everybody trying to do everything and creating a lot of chaos. Now, for some people, this could easily make a fun game that's supposed to be just about a chill experience into something way too tedious and job-like. So this isn't for everybody, but it can give you some ideas of how you might approach an investigation. With a single player, you can essentially mentally assign yourself a role and then keep changing your roles, and that'll help you to maybe organize what your priorities should be. So some of the roles I'm going to outline, and don't just take this as a suggested list. You could have other ideas, the kind of roles. You got your advanced scout, your photo guy, your photographer, the person who grabs stuff, the person who's the expert at smudge sticks, the person who does the talking, the truck guy, somebody who specializes in hunt survival, the person who organizes or directs, or maybe the foreman, however you want to look at it. Somebody who's basically an expert at the knowledge side of the game. They know all the ghosts and everything. And then there's this idea of a micromanager, which is usually what you don't want. Micromanaging can be a bad thing sometimes, but in here it can be used as a good thing. So going to the advanced scout, or the darkness scout, as I like to call it, they basically carry a flashlight, a candle, and a lighter. The first thing they're going to find that fuse box. This role usually assumes that you don't have the fuse box indicator on the map, which is going to be if you play from professional upwards, you're not going to have. In fact, if you want to be good at this role, you could practice with a custom difficulty like I do. You know the locations on the map where that fuse box is, or you bring up a map, whatever. So yeah, your goal is finding that fuse box, turning it on. The entire time you're walking out with a lit candle and the flashlight on, and if the candle is blown out, well, you report that, but then you relight it. You basically are looking to avoid any sanity drain that's under your control. After that, you could be looking for the bone and reporting the bone location. You could be looking for the cursed possession and reporting that. Also, if you think something might be the ghost room because you pass by it and there's a lot of activity, or the ghost keeps blowing out the candle there, you would report that. Scouting work can be really tedious in the investigation, so not everybody's up for it. All you're doing is basically walking around with a lit candle and a flashlight and reporting. You're not doing anything else. You're not really actively investigating. But the key here is to keep as much sanity as humanly possible. With this method, unless the ghost does some kind of drain on you, you could walk out after 10, 15 minutes of doing this and still be at top sanity. And if you're doing this multiplayer, you got to be able to report frequently and accurately, but only important information, only important observations. This is not the person that goes on about how their weekend was over radio in game. You'll frequently have the most sanity as a result, so everybody else could be at 50 and you can still be at 100, so keep that in mind. Next, we got the photographer, the photo guy. They carry on a flashlight in one, if not both cameras. They have to be really good on taking photos, and the entire team agrees that this is the person who takes photos and nobody else. As a result, at the beginning of the investigation, you want to figure out where your priorities are, and the photographer agrees to follow these priorities. Usually, you're trying to, you get a report about where the bone is, you go to it, you take a picture, you pick it up. That's usually a priority, but on some maps, finding the bone isn't a priority, especially on the bigger ones, but yeah, that's usually your top thing. People may want a cursed possession photo, which at the moment is band C. It's not really worth getting unless nothing else. You got to really know how to make the most of your 10 photographs. So this is not something I would assign to a new player. I'd assign it to somebody who clearly understands the photography system in the game. You're also going to be responsible for getting the ghost photo, both for the rewards, because it's the top reward money photo you can take, and then the objective. Key here is to understand, the flickering and not to collide, and if somehow it's still doing the event and whatnot, it could be a phantom, let people know about that. After you've got the important photos, you might ask the team, what do you want to do? Maybe they just want to get out of there and they say, screw the rest of the photos. Other times they say, okay, take a picture or whatever. The key thing is you got to be good enough to get consistent 3-star photos. If you're trying to go for an imperfect investigation, they all have to be 3-star, including the ghost one. So, and then a role that's absolutely important in a multiplayer game, you're going to have to keep doing. You're going to have to keep bringing in equipment. Well, you could assign somebody just to do this. They can be a completely new player, and to absolve them of most of the responsibility in the game, but still doing something important, just have them be the person the gopher, the person who goes out and gets everything. They might bring a flashlight and bring in 2 pieces of equipment, or they might get ballsy and bring in 3. So that's all you're doing, bringing in and moving equipment. You let them know you're going out to the truck for this, you're bringing back this, you've set up or dropped this. The priority is just getting the equipment to the location, not necessarily setting it up properly. So if you're crunched for time, just drop the stuff in there, go back, keep doing, and that's all you're doing. You don't do anything otherwise. This is a good chance you're not going to be in this role for the entire investigation, but if you got a brand new player who's honest about being new, just have them do this, especially if you got a full team of 4. Next, you got the smudge stick guy. This is the person who's an expert on knowing how to use the smudge stick. They'll probably carry around a flashlight to see, and a smudge stick and a lighter. The only thing they're focusing on is how to use that smudge stick. So it could be the objectives. It could be also possibly during the hunts. But they know everything on how to use a smudge stick. They know the times. They understand how smudge sticks and smudging works. Cleansing the room, they may be responsible for keeping track of that. So if you're trying to determine if something's a spirit, this will be the time for the smudge stick guy to be like, okay, it's been more than 90 seconds. It hasn't been 120 seconds, and so on and so forth there. So, it's hunted at 61 seconds, that kind of thing. You got to know not to, you got 4 smudge sticks tops. So you got to have the patience to know how to avoid wasting them. You got to be able to keep it cool under fire here. And also you should be the one keeping track of the smudge sticks, where they are, either, in the truck, and at least one of the lighters. If you brought along 4 lighters and you have no idea where one of them is, the smudge stick guy, you're not doing your job. Then we got the talker. This person does all of the talking with anything that requires talking. The key thing is they have to speak fluentish English, at least enough for the game to understand you. That doesn't mean you have to sound American or British or whatever. As long as the game picks up on what you're saying, you should be fine. For the most part, you're going to be the one interacting with the Ouija board, the spirit box, and the monkey paw. This can be good if you're kind of a role player or you really enjoy talking in the game. This can be really good for you if you want a fully immersive experience. You're the medium, you're the person who's talking directly to the other side, so this can be a lot of fun. Key thing here is you should know all the valid questions, or at least most of them, for all of that, and what they cost in sanity. If you have no idea what the sanity costs on asking the ghost what its room is on the Ouija board, this is not the role for you. Because of all that interaction, there's a very good chance you're gonna be the one with the more I curse, more times out of not. You're probably going to be the one with the lowest sanity. You got to already work it out on how you're using the sanity pills with you in this role. And when you don't have any of that, you're still the one. You're in the room asking the questions. Where are you? Every 3 seconds, you kind of stir up ghost activity, maybe even anger the ghost. You could be the one that they send into the room to just talk the yokai's ear off until it hunts. So you got to be really comfortable with talking and a lot of talking and know what to ask. You also maybe have to be the one to tell the team to leave, because we've got that response to alone and everyone, and to figure that out. So you're often going to be the one doing that. Now we got the truck guy. This is the source of constant ridicule. That one player who stays in the truck and doesn't leave the truck. But you can make this a valuable role in a multiplayer game, especially if you've got 4 players. But the key thing is, don't let them just sit in front of the monitor and only watch for ghost orbs. They're responsible for everything in that truck. That could be up to 5 different monitors. You've got the computer. Always have the computer monitor. You have the map where you can see placement of the sound and motion sensors, and where people are on that map and whatnot. You could have the the sanity monitor. Now, if you have that turned off, that's one less thing you're responsible for. And you got the total activity. You see the lines and whatnot, and you could make some. You just report it. I mean, you could also be the one that knows what to look for. Your biggest priority is you're the one looking for ghost orbs. That way, nobody else has to try to do that from the camera inside. You're looking for ghost orbs. You know how to go through the monitors. On different maps, you have a general idea of camera placements and whatnot. And if you don't, you can cheat with a little map on the side. I don't think it's a big deal. You're responsible for keeping track of those sanities on the monitor and letting people know, okay, what's our average? Because they're going to be constantly asking, what's our average team sanity? Now, if that monitor is off, as I said, that takes a big chunk out of your responsibilities. But you should let people know. You know, this person's the advanced scout. They shouldn't be getting any sanity drain. You know, this guy's a talker, and that's going to be going all over the place. But since you stay in the truck, most, if not all the time, you're pretty immune to hunts and sanity drain, so you could be the last survivor of your team. You also may be responsible for the inventory management, but I'd call that a secondary priority. Somebody asks, do we have a smudge stick left over here? You might make a check or whatever. If you have anxiety inside the location or dealing with hunts, this isn't a bad thing. It's also good for people that can manage the investigation, because this might overlap with the roles of like an organizer or a micromanager. So this could be the boss or just somebody who's reporting the activity. Key is do more than just check for orbs. Do other stuff in that truck. Be responsible for everything in that truck. Next, you got kind of the hunt survivalist. The smudge stick guy could be this too, but this is somebody who's really good on handling the ghost hunts. They know what to expect. They know grace periods. They understand differences with difficulties. They're the type of person that doesn't blink at a 0-second grace period. They know how to deal with hunts. They know how to invoke them. They're cool under pressure. Your big priority is keeping the team alive during hunts, knowing what's happening, you know, what your hunt possibilities are. You're like, okay, you walk in, you know it could be a demon. You keep everybody on their toes for that. If you need to force a hunt, you'll probably be responsible for that as well, because you have an idea of what sanity and everything. If the ghost is chasing somebody else, you could be the one to be the hero, to jump in front, smudge the ghost, and keep it occupied. That way, if you have multiplayer and it's hunting, it's often best for somebody who's not the target to be the one who smudges the ghost. What your loadout could be could just greatly vary throughout the investigation. You have to pick up, drop off, whatever you need. The key thing is you have to be just cool under fire here during the hunts and just in the investigation in general. For the person that nothing scares them, that they can keep on a level head, this could be the role for you. You have to know how to use the smudge stick, especially during a hunt. I mean, that is your entire personality. Also, you could be the one that hides and can listen to the ghost and try to determine certain ghost traits, you know, its speed and whatnot. So this tends to be more for the expert players among you. And then we have basically the kind of the organizer, the director or whatever. This isn't a leader from the front, but a leader from the back position. The truck guy could also be this. You organize the investigation, maybe you assign roles, you direct the team to do various things. It really helps if you have one person who's kind of the leader. Otherwise, it gets all crazy. But maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you just want to go in there and play terror roulette. I'm not going to tell you how to play your game. But if you're trying to play a more serious game and get everything done, this can be very important. You got to be somebody that can multitask and keep track of everything. What evidence have been gathered? You know, warning people of this. What kind of ghost activities? You have to be really good at communication. You're getting information in and you're bringing information out. Kind of like the CPU. You could be kind of like the CPU of the team. You have to be able to handle leadership from the back, which a lot of people say you should lead from the front. This is not one of those cases. You might be sitting back a lot of the time and just processing stuff and bringing it in, bringing it out. Next, we kind of have this idea of the person who's a lore expert. You're the most knowledgeable person in terms of how the game works. Um, you can list off the all 24 ghosts and their information in your sleep. You know how the mechanics of this game works. Um, you're basically the filter. You take in everything you hear and then you spit back out meaningful information. There's a lot of fact and fiction in this game. Somebody says, I hear the race can go through walls and huts. You say, no, they can't. You have to be willing to teach others about the game and impart that knowledge, but you also have to have that knowledge to begin with. This is a very critical thing if everybody else in your team is still fairly new to the game. But yeah, you're picking out the important information from all the information you're bringing in. And then lastly, there's the idea of the micromanager. This is somebody who's nitpicky and constructively critical. They go into a room, they're like, the camera's not at the right angle, I'm going to change that. I want to move the crucifix over, it needs to be here instead of there. You're making constant small adjustments. You're going behind people. You're double checking everything. Somebody says the ghost room is here, but it's actually over there. You're constantly doing this. You may be the one who keeps track of like the ghost roaming to get an idea, and then ghost room changes and such. You have to be really critical, and you have to be willing to make adjustments to everything, but you also have to be very constructive too. So, anyways, that's pretty much it for some suggestions for roles. You don't have to use this kind of approach to the game, but it may help you.